product versus a brand. You are a product to be marketed and sold, but you also are a brand. It's just that right now, your brand value might not be very high. But before we talk about that, let's talk about products. In the introduction, I mentioned that there are commodity products, there are niche products, there are brands, which are brand products. Well, a commodity product is something that it really doesn't matter which brand label it is. It just serves a purpose, serves a function, it does a good job, and there's not very much risk involved. And that can be related to actors in the sense of being an extra on set. An extra work, great to get paid. I strongly encourage actors to work in the business. But the reality of the situation is, as an extra, you have a very specific job, which is to be in the background, provide ambience, be a part of the scenery, and not distract from the main focus of that TV show or the theater piece or the film that you're in. Now, as a commodity product, they're interchangeable. Yes, they vary slightly, but they're basically interchangeable. And most actors fall into this category throughout their career because they have not understood how to develop brand value. And this is what we're going to change, and that's why you're in this program. I want to talk a little bit about a niche product. A niche product is a product that addresses a very specific need or plays a very specific role, such as maybe somebody with a special skill, like having a black belt, or a stuntman who is 6 feet tall and, say, has red hair. Well, that's a very specific kind of product that doesn't get used a lot, but he also doesn't have very much competition. That's why sometimes you'll see girls will change their hair color. The big trend in the last few years was girls changing their hair color to red. If they weren't part of the blonde, blue eyes American dream on TV, they might say they decided to change it up and change their brand. And that's always very risky. We'll talk about that when I talk about brands. But being a niche product means you might not get as many auditions, but if you have a niche skill that's very specialized, or a niche look that's very specialized, your physicality or whatnot, then you've got much less competition. And that might be what you want to focus your career on. Rather than competing with everybody else out there who is fighting for the same roles, you might say, you know what, no, I'm going to focus and specialize in this certain niche. And more in today's marketplace in film and TV and theater, that is what's recommended, especially by me. I believe that it's just like being a brand. A niche can be a brand in the sense that there's an actor who's, oh wow, forgetting his name. He was in 300, he was in, he's 6'6", or 7 feet tall, he's a wrestler, and he doesn't work, well, he actually works quite often, but he's got a certain niche that he's carved out for himself in the business that has become very, very profitable for him. And that's fantastic. Now, are you able to do that? Maybe you are. That's why when you look at your various, later in this module, when you start focusing on your strengths, you might have a niche that you haven't exploited yet, that casting directors don't know that you can do. Maybe you speak 5 languages. Maybe you speak a very rare language, but it's still, in the video game world, they still use it to translate. They still like dub that game in that language. What I'm trying to say is a niche market is, rather, actors oftentimes fall into the vanilla category. They all want to be a part of this group because subconsciously we want to belong, we want to be loved, we want to be just like everybody else. Unfortunately, that is not going to do very well for you in your career. You need to start establishing yourself as a brand. And how do you change a product from a brand? It's about developing relationship. And through much of the Actor Manage program, it is, a lot of it is about relationship, either establishing, developing, nurturing, or reestablishing relationships that actors will oftentimes just let drift away Because we'll go to a set. I did this for years. I'd go to set, do my job, thank you very much, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and then I would just leave. I didn't really keep the call sheets. I didn't remain in contact with anybody on this set. And that is not like in business. In business, the idea, and you see the quote again on the front, on the first page of the introduction, 20% of your customers will give you 80% of your work. Well, if you've been in the business for a while, take a look at your resume. Chances are it's the same casting directors that have been giving you most of your work. So it is just like in business. And I want to make you aware of this. And if you're new to the business, I want you to be aware of it now so you don't make the same mistakes most actors have made for years. Developing relationships is really the essence of how to build a brand. Franchises, authors, they all have a brand. Stephen King, you know what you're going to get usually when you buy a Stephen King novel. He's developed a brand and you trust it. You know what you're going to get. It's a slightly different twists and turns, but it's the same genre. You know what you're going to get. And as an actor, you need to go down this path as well and start developing your brand, about letting people trust you. You need to develop a relationship with your customers. First, it's casting directors and producers. Eventually, if you become a celebrity, it's going to be with your public. Your public's going to know what to expect when you're in a movie. That's why people will say, I'm going to go see a George Clooney movie. I'm going to go see an Angelina Jolie movie. I'm going to go see a Meryl Streep movie. They pretty much know what they're going to get. They trust the value of the brand. And that's why the producers hire them. Now, brands can also be franchises, like all the superhero movies you see out right now, or Star Wars. The actors, the brand value of the individual actors is not as important as the franchise, or bigger than the franchise itself. Robert Downey Jr. plays Iron Man. If something were to happen that Robert Downey decided not to ever play this role again, there would be another Iron Man next year. That's reality. Look how many times they've changed James Bond. Look how many times they've changed Batman. Those iconic characters in comics and cartoons are bigger than even the biggest stars in the world. Their brand value is so huge that it doesn't really matter who plays those characters. However, Hollywood believes that it does. So they will say, we've got a massive brand value with, or when Iron Man first started, not quite as popular as Batman, not quite as popular as say, Superman, but so why don't we hire one of the best actors in the world with huge brand value, Robert Downey Jr. So they complemented, the brand values complemented each other. And now Robert Downey is known as Iron Man, but what I'm saying to you is, even if he were to leave, somebody would replace him, and that brand would survive. Because the comic book brand, the franchise brand, is so valuable. Same thing with the Avengers and Captain America. And more realistically, in some ways, James Bond. James Bond has evolved 6, 7, 8 times. There have been different James Bonds. And the franchise continues to grow. Well, this is what I'm saying for actors. Actors need to understand that you need to develop brand value in order to be able to sustain a long-term successful and profitable career as an artist. If not, you're always going to be starting out new. That's the problem with most actors. They work job to job to job. And it's because they never create momentum. And this is what we're going to change in this Actor Advantage program for you. So understanding the difference between a product and a brand is critically important. You need to start developing relationships with your customers. And by doing that, you need to know who you are. You need to know what you represent and what you're bringing to the table. It needs to be crystal clear. And we're going to talk about that, about how you're going to share that or communicate that in the next section of this module. But as a brand, for now, what I want you to do is I want you, this is the task, this is the action item. I want you to download the PDF. It's a brand evaluation. I want you to either send it to 5 of your friends or arrange meetings with them, coffees, to get them to fill it out with you. Now, we all think we know how people perceive us, but I want you to know what comes to mind in people's minds when they hear your name. Now, friends are just a start. I would ask you to do it for casting directors. I definitely will ask you to do it for your agent if you have one. But for casting directors, it's a little tougher because they can't be filling these kind of questionnaires out for everybody. But you can do it with your agent, you can do it with some of your friends and family, and please ask them to be honest. This takes guts, it really does. In business, it's referred to sometimes as a 360 interview or a 360 questionnaire, which is a complete look at yourself from somebody who's hopefully going to be objective, hopefully who loves you enough to be honest with you, to help you. Because we all can't be leading actors. We all must accept the fact that somewhere in our career curve, things need to evolve. We need to hit certain plateaus or certain benchmarks in order to be able to catapult us into that next level. Most actors just drift along, and they work job to job. And the spaces in between each job make it impossible for them to create career momentum because they don't have a plan. And that's not going to be for you because you're in the Actor Advantage program, and that's changing, and I congratulate you on that. But first, download that PDF. At least 5 friends and your agent. I want you to give them that brand evaluation, or sit down with them and fill it out, and be able to take a look at it after, and I want you to send it to us. Send it to us at mysuccess@actoradvantageprogram.com. We'd love to be able to review them at some point in time. So don't forget, download the PDF, get them filled out by 5 friends and your agent or agents, and then send them to mysuccess@actoradvantageprogram.com. And remember, there's never been a better time to be in show business.